Hi vinyl community, this is Luke with Hot Wax and Cool Vinyl. Welcome back. This is our third installment in my top 100. If you've seen the first two, then you know how I choose my albums. I choose them based on an emotional response that the album gives me, be it a memory or perhaps just a feeling. So without further ado, we'll start with number 80 in our list. Number 80 is Everclear. Everclear is considered I guess, a grunge alternative band. For me, what prompted me to get into Everclear, the 1990s was a bit of a disillusionment for me musically. And I tended to overlook a lot of the bands, or just not really give them a second thought of the bands that came in the 90s. To me, it just was like, they didn't have much of anything to offer. I heard Everclear, I heard a couple of their songs, Santa Monica, and a few of the others, and that comes to mind. And it caused me to stop, pause, listen, and it was a gateway to the other bands of the era. And what really sold me on Everclear was was 2000. I'm trying desperately not to babble. In 2000, the song AM Radio came out, and AM Radio, while not a blueprint of my youth growing up, it resonated. And so I went back, and again, I really started listening and looking to other bands of the 90s. And so Everclear I credit for bringing me back into the music of the 90s and not being quite so snooty. Number 79, Joan Jett and the Blackhearts, I Love Rock and Roll. This album came out in 1981, but it really didn't break through, at least not here in New York, until 83. And by 83, it was new wave central. I mean, just about everything you heard on the radio had a new wave, twist, pop sound to it. And then here comes Joan Jett. And just, I'm going to punch you in your face and walk away. And then I'm going to come back and hit you again. And that was the feeling that I got from this album was, wow, there are still rockers. And I love the album in 83. It also allowed me to go back and take a look at the Runaways and Lita Ford, which I'd heard of but really didn't pay close enough attention to. And it was 83, and it was just such a different sound than what was on the radio and what was being purchased in the record stores. That I just, loved it, and it stuck with me, and she became one of my favorite artists. She also, fun fact about Joan Jett, she was starred as Magenta, I believe, in the Broadway's Rocky Horror Picture Show. Number 78, Kim Wilde. Album came out in 1981. 1981, for me, it's on this list at number 78 because of the memory it brings back from a summer of 81. I had just graduated high school, and I had moved to Europe, and this song had not actually broken through quite yet in the States, but it was the Kids in America from the song from this album was very, very popular in Europe, and I heard it daily, every single day, that summer. And it happened to be a wonderful summer for me. So this album has been with me ever since 1983 when I got home and was actually able to buy it. I lived in Europe, worked there, but didn't have any money. So when I came home, I bought this album, and it's been with me ever since. And every time I put on Kids in America, transported back to that time period in my life when I was 18 years old and spending a working summer tending bar in Rome. A lot of fun, actually. And up next, as I drop all my papers, we have Not the Hooples, All the Young Dudes. This not really a memory, just the song, All the Young Dudes, brought back a reaction. And the reaction for me was, yeah, it's okay. You know, I when I heard All the Young Dudes, you know, it's obvious that the song, what the song implies and what it means. But when it came out in '72, and when I heard it in '77, I guess I really heard it, and I remember it. That's kind of my next two albums. I'll explain a little better. But it was still very much taboo. And here these guys are saying, no, it's really not. It's all good. And whatever your sexuality was or was not at the time, you could take from that song, hey, it's okay. So that's why Mott the Hoople comes in for me. To say it's just a wonderful album, but it also comes in for me at number 77. Number 76. Fantastic keyboard player, Argent. This album is from 1972, and it's on my list at number 76 for a very distinct memory. When I was a young child, I guess I was in third grade, and I guess I was in third grade. We lived in Queens, and one of the things we always did was we all hung out in groups in front of people's houses, and I don't recall who, but one of the people had a portable record player and the 45 of Hold Your Head High, and they played it. And even though I had no idea the lyrics, I couldn't understand the lyrics, I just really didn't get it. I loved the song. And that was kind of my very first memory of really focusing on a song and saying, hey, I really like that. And I'd like to hear that again. And so because of that, Argent comes in at number 76. Again, I'm peeking down only because I have all the albums written down because I'm just not good enough to remember what number I'm on. So number 76, Argent. And all right, number 75 is John Fogerty. This was the 1985 Centerfield album. No particular memory, but a feeling for this one. I happen to be a beach rat. I love the beach. You know, it's just part and parcel of my entire existence growing up on Long Island. And the song Centerfield, when it came out and we played it, it was just a great song that reminds me of summer every time I play it. Every time, no matter what time of the year it is, it comes on and I put it on and I sing along to it or hum along to it or whatever the case is. But it just makes me feel great. It makes me feel like summer's right around the corner, even if we're in the dead of winter. So because of that, number 75, Centerfield, John Fogerty. It's also not just that song, but it's just, I know everyone has this album, everyone knows it, but if you, for whatever reason you don't, it's just a tremendous record, and it really is worthy of being in anyone's collection. And we're going to number 74 now, Surfer Girl from the Beach Boys. This particular album reminds me of, I was in 6th grade and I had this hand-me-down record player in my bedroom, and I didn't have any records. I had to rely on the records that my aunt and my uncle owned, and they owned a couple of Beach Boys albums, and this was one of them was the Surfer Girl, and I played it for two reasons. I really just thought these guys were so cool. I mean, you know, just absolutely fantastic looking guys, and all the songs were just beachy songs, Catch a Wave and all those things, and Surfer Moon, and you know, the only one I actually didn't like, oddly enough, was Surfer Girl. I mean, I still, well, I was like, okay, but nothing tremendous. But The album cover, for a kid who is a beach rat, I just wanted to be one of the Beach Boys. That's just how cool it was. So this album is going to always remind me of that kid in 6th grade who didn't own any records but was introduced to the Beach Boys and because his aunt and uncle happened to have Surfer Girl in their record collection. And I loved it, and I played it, and I played it, and I played it. Number 73, Bruce Springsteen's The River. Not one of his better albums. Not horrible, but not one of his top 5. Let's put it this way. But when this came out, I was I guess I must have been a junior in high school, 1980, and I was one of those guys who didn't really think much of Bruce Springsteen. Didn't particularly care for him. And on a ski trip to upstate New York, we didn't have Walkmans, we didn't have CD players, but we did have boom boxes, and we had cassettes. And somebody had a copy of The River on cassette. And they just kept playing it on the bus ride. And it was I think it was like an 8-hour bus ride. And I heard it a lot. And I got to like it. And I got to like a lot of the album. And I wound up liking Bruce Springsteen and buying his entire catalog, which I now own. But all of that was because of The River and because of that one person who had a cassette and a boombox of The River from Bruce Springsteen and played it for 8 hours from Long Island to Mount Cor in upstate New York. It was not enjoyable now, not so much then. Number 72, Genesis Seconds Out. 1977, and I'm in Rome, and personally I'm still feeling my way through musically. I am still more pop than I am rock. One of my relatives in Rome had Seconds Out, and I just liked the look of the album. I thought the album looked really, really cool. Didn't know anything about Genesis, didn't know anything about the music they played, but I liked the album. I thought the album was cool. The poster was really cool. And Carpet Crawl was one of them played, and I actually, I liked it quite a bit. So I came home, and I guess shortly thereafter, within 6 months or so, bought the album and became a Genesis fan since that point. And I know that the vinyl verse is going to tell me a little bit more about Seconds Out. I look forward to hearing it. But this one actually is the one that got me sold on Genesis. So because of that reason, it comes in at number 72. And finally, 71. Warren Zevon's A Quiet Normal Life. This is the best of. It's a compilation album. I will be including other Zevon albums a little higher up. But this one comes on the list at number 71 because of the song Rollin' the Headless Thompson Gunner. And this is I play this album, and a friend of mine who's moved away and now lives in Atlanta or in Georgia. It reminds me of him, and he's the one who told me about Warren Zevon, and he said, you gotta listen to this guy. This guy's crazy sick. He's got this song called Rollin' the Headless Thompson Gunner. He goes, and he went on and on and on, and so he was a really good friend of mine, so I listened to him, and I went out and bought Quiet Normal Life, and he was absolutely right. And thank goodness you were, Steve, because of you, I have an affinity for Zevon and recognize that he was a talent. And I mean, obviously, he was also wicked funny and just had a crazy view of life. But man, what a writer and what a performer! He's gone now, but if you ever had a chance to see him, He was just an amazing performer, and if you haven't had a chance to see him, check him out on some of the YouTube videos. Watch some of his live stuff. He's just really, he gave everything. He didn't leave anything. He didn't hold anything back when he played. And so, Quiet Normal Life, Rollin' the Headless Thompson Gunner, great song, and a great album, and a really great memory of a very dear friend who I don't see as often as I'd like to any longer. But again, this is number 71. I tried to keep this one shorter. I do not wish them to be terribly long, and I also don't want this to be a soliloquy of my life. I really want the records to be the focus of the attention, as it should be in the vinyl community. Less so us, more so the music. But that said, I would love to hear from you guys. Give me a comment about the choices I've picked. If there's something that invokes a memory in particular, let me know. I mean, that's why I do this, and because I want to have this conversation with the other vinyl collectors out there, and I want to say thank you to all of you who've posted videos, who I subscribe to, who post constant videos, because it's because of those videos that I get really great insight into artists that I did not know. So again, I thank you. Have a fantastic week. Happy Sunday, and I will speak with you in the next edition relatively soon. Don't forget to subscribe, guys. I really need it because, quite honestly, I'm vain. Have a good week, everyone. I'll talk to you soon.